Well, guys, Tuesday was the trade deadline for the NFL. A lot of moves were made, most notably right here in our hometown. I've been calling for it for weeks. In case you were living under a rock, because I think something else happened on Tuesday. I'm not exactly sure, but peace in the Middle East is coming and gas prices are already starting to plummet. Woo! Something happened on Tuesday. I don't know what. I do know that the Lions acquired Browns defensive end Za'Darius Smith. Something we've been talking about for weeks on this channel now, and the Lions were able to do it. Brad Holmes took a stroll down to Cleveland, had a bag of peanuts, and said, I want Za'Darius Smith. And the Cleveland Browns said, oh my God, we are in salary cap hell with the Deshaun Cosby salary cap, or salary that we have that's guaranteed. We need every single possible draft asset that we can get. And they were like, what do you think? And Brad Holmes, like a third and a fourth. And he goes, no. Are you shitting me? You can have a sixth and a future fifth, or a fifth and a future sixth. We'll talk about it. And the Cleveland Browns said, thank you, sir. We would love to have your garbage. Here, take Za'Darius Smith. Now, obviously, we on this channel all wanted Mad Max Crosby. Okay, it's cut and dry that Hat and Beard is a huge Max Crosby fan. What do you want from me? He played in Ypsilanti down the road here at Eastern Michigan, and that's awesome. I love the kid's motor. But we said for weeks it was never going to happen. The Raiders had no interest in trading Max Crosby to us, at least not for the price tag that they want. I mean, what were we going to have to give up Max Crosby? 2 first-rounders and maybe even a JMO? Get out of here, dude. So look, you sacrificed the 5th and a 6th round pick. So what do we lose out on? A potential for a Malcolm Rodriguez, who unfortunately is hurt and hasn't quite necessarily lived up to his potential as far as what we were hoping to see after Hard Knocks. We kind of thought he'd be integrated into the defense a little bit more. He's played more of a special teamers reserve role, a big locker room guy. I'm not knocking Malcolm Rodriguez, but he's hurt right now. Or you miss out on a Chase Lucas. He's not even on the team right now. Colby Sorsdahl, he's trash, right? He's a rotationary offensive line player, but not even our main interior offensive line player. That goes to Kwodio Awasika, right? So the picks that we gave up are darts in the dark anyway. And we have, although aging at 32, I'm not big on guys on the back end of their career. It makes me feel the same way that the Lions felt when I was a kid, where we weren't a destination that you wanted to go to. We were a destination that you went to get a bag before you exited the league unceremoniously, quietly at the end of a season. You know what I'm saying? Now we got guys wanting to come here, so I'm not a big fan because, again, it just has a little bit of negative feelings towards it. But now we're seeing guys who, although 32, Za'Darius Smith wanted to come to Detroit, gives him the opportunity to play against 2 of his former teams that he played for, Minnesota and Green Bay. He also brings, still at 32, he has, I think, 20-some hurries or quarterback pressures and 5.5 sacks through 9 games in Cleveland, where he has, more help on the front 7 and decent. Cleveland's defense isn't awful. They have players, but we weren't going to get Myles Garrett. So let's be happy with our consolation prize in Za'Darius Smith. We got him for next to nothing, right? And he's not even a 1-year rental player to get us over the hump. He will be here next year, so we're not having to eat a bunch of salary cap, right? I think it's like $23 million a year. Yeah, that's a lot of fucking money for you or I, but that's not that much when you look at the grand scheme of what guys are getting paid to play his position, considering he is productive. I think he's a 2-time Pro Bowler. I like the Za'Darius Smith signing. Again, it is a veteran leadership, a guy who knows how to do it. He's been doing it for a while. He's a big body. He's like 6'5", 270. He'll help develop guys like a Josh Paschal, right? Aiden Hutchinson doesn't need development from a veteran. Josh Paschal, somebody else that we draft next year, a young guy that needs to turn the corner, maybe a guy on his second team who had a bad stint. A guy like a Za'Darius Smith can help cultivate, grow, and develop him, right? That's what we like to see. We like to see Za'Darius Smith. So what do I got for us here today, guys? I'm going to go ahead and read this little article from the DetroitLions.com. I got it pulled up here from Tim 20Man, but before we get into it, guys, do me a favor. Go ahead and like the video, all right? That helps. That's easy. It costs you nothing. Just hit like. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel. We've been growing really, really well. Yesterday, I'll admit, yesterday I lost a subscriber. I lost one subscriber. I thought I was going to lose more, to be honest with you, but I made a short that is pretty funny. I'll put it up here if I can remember at the 6-minute-ish mark. I'll put a link to it right here so you guys can check it out. I thought it was pretty funny. Look, guys, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I like my presidents like I like my guns. 40 and 45, and now 47, right? So I'm pretty obvious about it, pretty blatant, and most of you guys are pretty well in tune with how I feel about things. So what I really want to say is to the 569 of you that still stuck around, thank you, dude. Like, that's awesome. That's the type of community we want to develop here. Not soft. A bunch of guys that can, even though you might not agree with me, you can take a joke, right? Like, come on. You see the benefits and everything. You know things are going to be better. We're on the dawn of a golden age. So, long-winded way of saying thanks for being cool. Thanks for, having a backbone and a sense of humor and a fully developed set of nuts. You know what I'm saying? So, and then also, on top of all that, share this around with your friends because it's the only way to keep this channel growing. It helps the YouTube algorithm know and tells them to, hey, put this content out here. We've been actually seeing quite a bit more traffic come to the channel. A lot of growth. I'm so over the moon about it. You guys are being so awesome. And just a little bit of a teaser. I only have to work 7 more days this month because I'm taking the 15th through the end of the month off for hunting season. So we might even be putting out more content if I can get off my lazy butt. And, maybe we do a dual upload. Maybe we even hop in and do a live stream with you guys or something like that. Comment down below what you think. And then also comment what you think down below on the Za'Darius Smith trade. What do you guys think? Give me a letter grade. Give me a letter grade. How well did Brad Holmes absolutely fleece the Cleveland Browns? All right, so coming to us from DetroitLions.com, the guy, the man, Tim 20Man. Tim 20Man. What Smith trade means for Lions defense. This is a little article we got pulled up. I do like Tim 20Man's work, so follow him on Twitter or on Twix or on X or on Facebook. Give the guy some support. He's been doing it for a long time. I genuinely like his content. He's in a sea of trash bag journalists. Sports writing has taken a back seat to activism, but one man stands above them all. Tim 20Man. All right, Tim 20Man. Here we go. Help is on the way for the Detroit Lions and the pass rush. The Lions agreed to terms to acquire defensive line Za'Darius Smith in a trade with the Cleveland Browns on Tuesday, adding a veteran pass rusher on their defense before the 4 p.m. trade deadline. Gosh, man. Tuesday was such a big fucking day. Tuesday was such a great day in the Hat and Beard household. The Lions will send the Browns a 2025 fifth and a 2026 sixth rounder in return for a 26 seventh rounder. So, look, let's be honest, guys. We can either look at these as potential dart throw players, or we can look at it as the reality of the situation. These are just tradable assets for Brad Holmes at this point. And, it's nice that he's not all in. He ain't all in with these young guys. He ain't all in. He's willing to go out and get Za'Darius Smith. It's just right here. Right there. Nice little blending of A and B. Here's some pictures of Za'Darius Smith. You see, he's a big cat, dude. He's a big cat, number 99 there. Yeah, see him. See how much bigger he is than most other people? Dude's been doing it for a while. I remember him getting after us in Green Bay a couple of times. Because it was him and like Preston Smith, who I think Preston Smith just got moved as well. All right, and an ad. Yeah, look at that. He can tackle. Oh, careful. You might be getting a hip dropper there, buddy. You might be getting a hip drop tackle. The Lions are 7-1, our top team in the NFC, and have won 6 straight games. We've struggled to get consistent pressure on opposing quarterbacks ever since losing Aiden Hutchinson to a broken leg week 6 in Dallas. Yeah, you guys have heard me complain about it, how the pass rush just isn't getting home. I don't know if Josh Paschal is just too sick to be able to play. He's missed 2 weeks now. And the defensive ends that we have been rotating through, we've been actually playing what I call a heavy end, right? A guy who could be playing more of a tweener inside, more of a 3 technique, but we're rolling them out to a 5 technique to allow them to kind of set a heavy rush edge, which is why we're probably so much better at stopping the run than most other teams. Not only is it a bigger body for tackles to kind of have to deal with, where they're more used to engaging with a slightly more athletic build of a guy than, say, a defensive tackle with a defensive end. It also allows you to eat up more space, control your gap, and keep your man off the linebacker, allowing Anzalone, Jack Campbell, Tyler Nowitzki to run free, essentially. Germ to run free, make all the plays, get all the splash, get all the highlights. That is the one downside to being a guy in the trenches is it's an ungloried position. No one is going to give you your flowers. If you know, you know, and it's nice when people give you a little bit of accolades, but it's not glamorous, it's not glorious, unless you're a guy like Hutch and you're getting home and getting pressure. If you're just set in the end and you're controlling your man and you're doing your job, it's just not very glorious, but that's what we kind of tend to do with with what I call the heavy end. You see a Levi Alonso-Rique. Marcus Davenport was kind of more that same style of build. Even you see Mekhi Wingu take a few snaps at defensive end. Obviously, James Houston is trash. Muhammad not really getting the job done. You know, we can get some rush, but we have to send blitzes, which leaves our corners slightly more exposed and vulnerable, although our corners are starting to grade up slightly higher than they were at the beginning of the season. Obviously, we have the two superstar safeties in Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph to really help accentuate the back end and kind of mask some of the shortcomings of, say, a Terrion Arnold, although his ceiling is still high, his floor is still he's still kind of hovering more around his floor. I'd like to see him bring it up a little bit more. We've seen the PIs get taken down, or less calls of PIs on Terrion Arnold, so he's developing well. But you've heard me say it many times on this channel. A good rush, a good pass rush covers up the deficiencies on the back end. And that is one thing that we have been missing ever since Hutch broke his leg, is constant pass rush on the quarterback. Not getting many hurries. You're not seeing quarterbacks throw off platform very often or make bad decisions. Now, I will make an exception for the Jordan Love pick 6 with Kirby Joseph. That was clearly just a perfect storm of bullshit where the play broke down. And Jordan Love is a gunslinger. He tries to make things happen, threw it right to Kirby Joseph. And Kirby Joseph got to introduce himself to Jordan Love as Green Bay's permanent daddy. The Minnesota game, Brian Branch was able to bait Sam Darnold into a real bad throw in the end zone. So that wasn't necessarily a boon to the rush, but a clever play by the defensive back. So the Lions have also lost starting defensive end Marcus Davenport, Sam linebacker Derek Barnes to long-term injuries that cut into their pass rush production. Marcus Davenport sucked. I had high hopes for him this year. Derek Barnes, the thing is his contract is going to be up here pretty soon, so this is about the worst-case scenario for him. He was developing, and early on in his career, he actually had a bit of a pass rush ability, which is why we moved him over to the Sam linebacker spot instead of so much the Mike backer spot. He could get home, and we've seen in the Buccaneers game in the playoffs last year, he's able to cover well, but he's done for the year. I don't expect to see Derek Barnes to be able to come back and make any contributing plays to the defense. Nowitzki's starting to develop better. Germ's starting to rotate in more. And now with Za'Darius Smith, hopefully we can add a little bit more oomph to our front 4 pass rush so we don't have to send 5 or 6 guys, maybe get a little bit more of a rush like we were able to with Hutch. Obviously, Za'Darius Smith will never be Hutch. Za'Darius Smith, 32, has compiled 5 sacks in 9 games for the Cleveland Browns and has 20 quarterback hurries. Played in Baltimore, Green Bay, Minnesota, and Cleveland the last 2 seasons. He has double-digit sacks in Green Bay in 2019 and 2020 and in Minnesota. Yeah, so I think he averaged like 10 sacks over those couple of years. I think one year he had 14 sacks. And 5 sacks in 9 games is nothing to snub at. 20 quarterback hurries. So he's essentially half as productive as Aiden Hutchinson, which is still 10 times more productive than James Houston, because James Houston is a giant fucking turd. Giant turd. Not a fan of James Houston around these parts. Now, we were his rookie year when he was producing and he played with a high motor, but then he came in with expectations put on him last year. Now, granted, the coaching staff did rotate him out to the Sam linebacker spot, which he has not been able to play even in college, which could have developmentally stunted his growth. But James Houston, when I see him play, he just doesn't have it. He's not fast enough. He's not nasty enough. He's not aggressive enough. He just doesn't have that dog in him. He just doesn't have that dog in him. You know what I mean? Like, well, you're just a roster spot at that point, dude. Za'Darius Smith, 6'4", 270 pounds, can also set the edge and take on double teams in the run game. which is a prerequisite to play significant snaps in Aaron Glenn's defense in Detroit. He has the size and skill set to be an important player in the Lions' run defense. He's nasty. He's savage. He's nasty. 6'4", 270. He's a big boy. He's got about 30 pounds on me. That's a big boy. 6'4". I mean, us 6'4" guys aren't that tall, but 270 at 6'4", that's a big lad. And that right there, like I said, he's got to be able to play the run game, take on double teams, set the edge. Aaron Glenn's defense, that heavy edge that I talk about. So Marcus Davenport was filling in so nicely because he was big and nasty. He was nasty. He had an aggressiveness, and he had that dog in him. You know what I'm saying? The dog in him that James Houston doesn't. It's unclear how quickly the Lions can get Smith acclimated to the scene, into the lineup. The Lions face Houston on Sunday, and their offensive line is just hot garbage. For the second most sacks allowed with 31. Damn, dude, that is so imagine this world, week 9, Aiden Hutchinson doesn't have a broken leg, and the Houston Texans are giving up 31 sacks. We're all licking our chops. We're like, oh, it's time to feast, boys. But without a pass rush, without a hearty pass rush, we do run the chance. Now, granted, Houston is down weapons, okay? And C.J. Stroud, I'm a big fan of C.J. Stroud, but it seems that he may have run into a little bit of that sophomore slump. Maybe he outperformed last year, right? This would be a game with Hutch that we're licking our chops at. With no Hutch, though, no pass rush. Could this be setting us up for a C.J. Stroud, breaks out of his slump type deal? Is this the game where Houston comes alive? I don't think so. I'd like to imagine that this train just keeps rolling. We're in the empire business, But, bro, if we can't get home on Houston with the guys we have, then what good are you? Other than a DJ Reed or a Lee McNeil, Are we going to have to send pressure? Or are we going to get home with our front four? Will Za'Darius Smith even play? Right? Man, this is such a cool shot. Amon-Ra. That is so funny to me. And there's my boy Fireball Tim Patrick in the background. This is such a cool shot. Oh, never mind. It's not going to load. All right, whatever. Aaron Glenn said, well, you've seen what we have right now with Isaiah Thomas and Al-Qadin Muhammad. So a lot of those guys play the first week that they're in, especially if we find packages to put those guys in. Aaron Glenn's quickly how he could potentially get a new player up to speed. So I'm going to look at it from an aspect of this is the NFL, and each week you might play a new player. Then during the game you might play a new player. That's true. You got to plan for the guy you're matched up against. Then you got to plan for the contingency option, right? With Smith now in the fold and hopefully the return of Josh Paschal after he missed 2 games with illness, Detroit's pass rush looks to affect opposing quarterbacks more consistently moving forward. So that is the big thing right there is those two guys. Those two guys right there. Za'Darius Smith and Josh Paschal will be the measuring stick on how far we can go in the playoffs this year. If Josh Paschal and Za'Darius Smith can be even somewhat productive. Now, we have seen Paschal he's grown. Josh Paschal has grown between last season and this season. Now, think back. Josh Paschal is a second-round pick. We took him in the second round directly after Aiden Hutchinson, just like we did with Terrion Arnold and Enos Rakestraw Jr. I have talked about during the draft process where Brad Holmes likes to double up, right? Brad Holmes likes to double up. And Josh Paschal hasn't necessarily lived up to, but he's also being outperformed by Aiden Hutchinson. He has, though, a better step. He's bigger, he's stronger, he's faster, he's nastier. He can get more pass rush than James Houston. This is just the James Houston hate fest right now. And now, will he be healthy? Will he be good to go after this illness? 2 weeks for illness is a long time. Who knows what's going on there? Za'Darius Smith coming in. I think he was delayed. He's going to have a couple days off. I would not expect to see Za'Darius Smith suited up for this game. There is a chance. So this is where I come. The idea is it's hard to prepare a guy and get him ready in such a short amount of time for what we do on defense. And that same notion, though, Za'Darius Smith is not a young guy. He has done it before, and he knows his job. The terminology, the the chemistry with the players, learning the coaching staff. That's going to be basically the biggest learning curve for him. He's got all the physicality traits in the world. He can be productive. What would I like to see out of Za'Darius Smith moving forward? We're halfway through the season. Give me what you gave Cleveland in the front half. If I can get 5 sacks out of you in the back half of the season and 20 hurries, that is highly productive for a 32-year-old that we traded for a 5th and 6th round pick right before the trade deadline. You then couple that with Aleem McNeil slowly becoming more and more of a elite pass rush type guy. DJ Reader eating up all the space in the middle. Maybe Pascal can start to be more effective with the addition of Za'Darius Smith. I don't know. I would really like to see Za'Darius Smith hit 7 sacks just in Detroit, which would then take him up to double digits on the season. You go into next year looking at your front four being Za'Darius Smith, Aiden Hutchinson, Aleem McNeil, and DJ Reader. That's pretty awesome. You really like to see that. So, all right, guys, we were able to cut this down, keep it a little bit shorter. We've been trying to keep it around the 20, 25-minute mark, if not cut it in. I'd like to get down like a 15, 17-minute mark, but that's neither here nor there. All right, that's going to be it. Let me know what you guys think. What are your thoughts on Tuesday? Were you happy Tuesday like I was? Did you stay up until 3 o'clock to be even happier on Tuesday like I was? Have you noticed gas prices in your city going down? And what letter grade would you give Brad Holmes for taking a bag of dirty, old, muddy, rotten peanuts, handing it to the Cleveland Browns in exchange for a 5.5 sack, 20 quarterback hurries defensive end with veteran leadership and Pro Bowl potential in his career? All right, so that's going to be it for me. I've been Hat and Beard. You've been an attentive audience. Bonga bonga. Frig off.